Like, I'll never forget that show, like being able to talk to every single person that come up. That's honestly like what keeps me going. Like, I do it for me, but I also do it for the fans as well, because like they care. It's a cool feeling.
Welcome to the Spencer Whiteout podcast. Rated R.
You have some criminal charges with you, bro. Guess like we're avoiding the shark. Call it leather fetish.
Yo, today Turbo Neck guy?
I'll give you a kiss. You give me your number.
That checked out a ton, dude. Tell me you felt.
We're Americans. We're the ones that are descendants from the 1776 musket-bearing motherfuckers.
Welcome back to the Spencer Whiteout podcast, where we collect experiences as badges, memories as treasures, and stories as wealth. In this episode, I interview Randy of the metalcore band If I Were You. We talk all about their songwriting process, live shows, lyrics, DIY approach, and much, much more. Let's dive in. Dude, so you guys have been perfecting the metalcore sound for a long time now. And what's cool about your band is that you kind of know what you're getting when you tune into new If I Were You, you know, and it just kind of gets better and better. Like, you have an established style, and that's one thing that people keep coming back to. And so I've been following you guys for about a decade now, and it's cool to see your journey and your progress.
Oh, thanks. It's crazy. Yeah, like over the years, like, I mean, we started in 2011 and we were in previous bands. I was like, you know, with my other guitar player since 2004, we've been playing. So our chemistry was like just nuts, you know? So then over time, you know, like just all the bands that we kind of gravitated towards, like whether it was like Old of Mice and Men and Devil Wears Prada and shit like that. And then we kind of got into like more of the Icy Stars and electronic kind of stuff. And I feel like that's like where our sound kind of has molded from. But yeah, going forward, I mean, I'm excited to just keep writing. And
Yeah. What made you want to do music in the first place?
I mean, I've been in a band with Dan since 2004. So yeah, I was 11 years old. So like I learned drums from my dad. My dad's a drummer and he's been playing for so long. So the music was always in my family. My sister plays guitar, and just that ever since I was like a little kid, my dad would always be on the kit and he's like, you want to learn a beat? And then finally like learn how to play drums and joined the band when I was a little kid.
Yeah. And it must be challenging to drum and sing at the same time. There's only a few people that can do that well.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like my father did the same thing in his band, so I kind of picked it up from him, which was really cool. And I always have to learn the drums to like where it's just like a muscle memory thing, where it's like I'm not even thinking about it. And then live, I'm always focusing just on vocals because it's hard. You know, I'm doing double bass and try not to sound like a freight train of, you know, like so you have to keep correct posture. And
yeah. So is your neck just like permanently twisted and like
literally? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I got to like learn how to sing like this.
Yeah.
But same thing in the studio too. Like I record a lot of my stuff sitting down just because like I practice sitting down in my car. I'm playing drums sitting down. I don't really stand and, you know, so like just sitting down in the studio doing all my tracks that's on the records.
That's fun. What was the first album you bought? Like the first metalcore album? Do you remember?
Linkin Park, and then going up to the heavier stuff like As Lay Dying, Shadows of Security, As Blood Runs Black, and Oceano. That was more like 2009 or 10. Who was that other band that's like, I think the drummer, he sings as well too. I think it was Atreyu. I used to jam that stuff too back in the day.
Yeah. It's crazy how many people mention Linkin Park as an influence. I mean, and it was for me too. I remember being like,
of course,
8 or 9 years old and hearing those first few albums and being just like blown away.
Right.
And I got my friend's dad to like burn me a burn CD of Linkin Park, and then I had to kind of hide it from my parents.
No way. That's amazing. I love it.
So I would like listen to it on my CD player. And I think also what was cool about it was eventually I was able to buy my own physical CDs of Linkin Park because I wanted to have them.
Right.
And I was able to because they didn't have any swearing on the first few albums. So I kind of got away with it.
Right.
We got to make room for Linkin Park and some of these other bands
course,
here.
Man.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, they still slap too, man. Just like hearing Chester's voice, even on like the stuff that they like had the unreleased, you know, like Lost or something they had. And just like, it just gives you chills all over again.
Mm-hmm. All right. So do you have any favorite lyrics from If I Were You songs?
I mean, one from like the newer album, like I love the ending, what was it, of Cursed. If this is just a dream, then why do I feel empty? I just can't feel anymore. Just like that whole entire like outro.
Yeah.
It's just like so euphoric, and I love like the piano. It's a song that just like speaks to me, and it seems like to resonate with a lot of people too. That's from like the newer stuff. I mean, like even like Broken, you know, with Devin Oliver, that was like a main reason why we wanted him on the track, just because it was just like, we knew it was just like such a big song. We heard like his voice in our heads like already before, you know, before he got on it. So
yeah, Broken was one of my favorites. I mean, that's the most played song from you guys, and not even because it's like your top song on Spotify or whatever, but like, you know, back in the day, just downloading it onto my iPhone, like I listened to that song so much. It's so catchy, and you could just put it on repeat because the opening hook with the piano and guitar and stuff is so catchy.
Definitely.
And I love those lyrics too. I'm gonna read them right here. It's, I was a broken promise that you could never keep. Now I'll always question everything. There's nothing anyone can do for me. Bring me back to a place where I felt myself.
Yeah,
super,
it is
super
one of my
good.
favorites too, man. And like then to have Devin a part of it, it just made it that much more special. And like I actually met him. He did an acoustic show, and I actually brought a CD, and like I went up to him, and like other people like are asking for signatures. I'm like, I just want to hand the CD to Devin in his hand. You know what I mean? Like I don't want no signature. I don't want nothing. I just want to say hi. So I handed it to him, and he was just like looked at it for a second, and then it clicked. You know, you could tell. And he was just like, oh shit, like, what's up? You know, like, so it was just like such a cool interaction, like to have him part of it. And I got to hand him the CD, and it was cool.
How did that collaboration come about? Because it sounds like it was remote at first, and then you met in person later.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a CD, like you gave him the physical copy of If I Were You?
Exactly, yeah. So like it started off like we always go through like who we want like on the album for like, you know, a guest feature. You know, we definitely like love all their previous stuff. Like we got to have them on. It's like one of my favorite vocalists. You could hear it like in my voice too, just like the way I sing. And so I think we had to go through like his manager or something, and we were able to like connect that way, and which was like hard because like I wanted to talk to him personally, but you know, like through like the whole like label stuff, I'm sure they had to do it that way.
Yeah.
But it was cool to like finally like have him on the track, exactly like lyrics that we were kind of worked on together, you know, to put that out. And then to meet him was a whole different experience too, you know, like meet him in person, and it was definitely awesome.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's so cool, man. Yeah. That's funny too. You're handing him a CD, and you're like, hey, I'll sign this for you.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was awesome to have him a part of it. And like you seemed like totally down for it too. Like the collab was just like perfect.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And you guys do have a similar sound. That's probably why I liked you guys so much too, is because like I See Stars was one of the first bands that got me into like the metalcore sound. And so I always love it when bands can incorporate electronic elements.
Definitely.
And, you know, have the clean vocals that are really solid, and then screams as well. So you guys just do it really similar. And it's super cool.
That's awesome. Thanks.
The other lyrics I really loved was from Lost. And it says, I need you more than you ever needed me. Why can't I find the words to say to make this all go away? I reach for you, but find nothing there. Talk to me about that track.
It's crazy because like that's such a good song, but it's like every time I hear it, I'm like, shit, I forgot about this. I feel like that one was a lot like a collab because Kyle's singing a part actually too in that. We very rarely do that where like I'll scream and then like he'll sing. But I remember in that part in the pre-chorus, he actually like sang that part, and he's always just like self-conscious, like, oh, nobody's singing. I'm like, yo, it sounds sick. Like, just do it. But it's cool. So we kind of go back and forth. But Lost was an awesome track. It was actually a single too.
Yeah, what was it? It was Broken, Lost, and Fraud were the singles, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because that was the time where I was like just dying to hear the new album from you guys. And I was like, I listened to those 3 songs so much back in college. And so,
that's so
yeah,
awesome.
my favorite CDs from you guys is The Life After Death and then the Inner Signals CDs. Like both those are super good. And obviously I've listened to everything since then as well. But those two, I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's like, because your guys' sound hasn't really changed a whole lot or whatever, but it's like, it's kind of crazy. You think about this, that like who you are at certain times in your life connect with certain artists and who they are at that time in their life, you know, and sometimes it overlaps and sometimes it doesn't.
Definitely.
But it's just like how we grow and change, and music taste changes over the years.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like that with Inner Signals, a lot of people kind of resonate with that album. We always get like the most like feedback on that, and we still play a lot of those songs live too, which is cool. We just played Jersey Debonair Music Hall, and it's crazy like because we don't play too many shows, but we actually have people flying out to see us and traveling, which is like such a great feeling. And I think one of the songs where like we played Deceived and Defeated, and like we wound up saying like, who's a fan of Inner Signals, and like the crowd just like went nuts. And it's like I'm not used to having that, you know, because we're so used to playing like local shows here where it's like barely anybody shows up, but we just play just like, you know, just to have fun. But I'm like, it was cool to see like actually like fans like come out and support, and it's awesome feeling.
Yeah, and you guys have a huge body of work too. You guys put out good music, and so how do you kind of choose the set list then?
The set list was the same for so long, like System Failure and stuff like that was just like kind of like easy for us to like play, like, but going like forward or like more the newer stuff, it's just like we have to start learning new stuff, and we just started playing False Reality. That's another one that's like on our top, but it was always so hard to play. I'm like, we got to just learn it and do it, and like we're starting to play it live, and it's like it's one of my favorites to play live now. It's heavy, it's it's a lot of energy, and they love it.
Yeah. When a song is hard to play live, is there ways to cheat it?
I mean, there's times where, like, as far as like for vocals, there's some songs where Kyle's just like on the record, there's no time to breathe. So he's like, Randy, you scream that so I could breathe. And then like I'll be doing like drums and scream it while he takes a breath, and like kind of vice versa, stuff like that. It's more of like a vocal thing, like trying to get a breath in for Kyle, because like we're recording it, and like sometimes we're just like, we're not even going to play this on live. And then like we see like a whole load of comments like, yo, I need to see this live. I'm like, damn, we really got to play this, So it's like,
you're like, oops.
So like, damn, we actually got to practice.
We're writing too crazy of tunes here.
Right. I like to write without thinking like, we can't do that live. Like I just like writing like what feels right that comes out. I don't really feel like, you can't pull that off live. Because like we sample a lot of stuff too, and it's like I don't find anything wrong with that either. It's like if you're just trying to put on a performance and entertain people, it's just like just sample whatever in the backtracks, like all the extra harmonies and this and that, and I feel like that helps bring the live energy up as well.
Yeah, and also like they're different art forms, so I mean making it the best art you can possibly make on recorded CD, like why shouldn't you pull out all the bells and whistles and all the tricks in the book to make it sound incredible?
Right.
And then when it comes to live, it's like you're adapting those songs, and then you make it sound as best as you can in a live setting, but they're two different art forms.
Oh, definitely. And I love both. I love the studio a lot more, but I feel like now that we're starting to play again, I'm kind of finding the love again for playing out, and the adrenaline's going again. Like I said, we've only used to play like maybe a show or two a year. We don't play often. We were more like a studio band for like the longest time. And then we just, we keep getting people like, come tour here or there. And like, we're trying to like, do we tour? We've never toured ever before, to be honest.
Yeah.
Never done a run.
I noticed that, which is pretty crazy. And so why is that?
Everybody's lives are just like nuts. So we just try to play as much as we can. I have a full-time job at the studio. It's like I run my own business, and it's like, I could make my own schedule, but just like finding time for everybody like to line their schedules up, it just makes more sense to like, we only get together maybe like an hour every, 2 weeks or something like that. And it's like, we don't live like that far away. It's just like, just scheduling stuff. But I'm always writing like 24/7, whether it's like with other artists and stuff like that. So we always will have the studio, will always be writing new albums. But I think going forward, we want to start playing a bit more. We had a show in January and February, so I'm like, wow, that's the most we've ever played consecutively. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and you've been getting good responses each time too. You said that people have been,
exactly.
Responding even better.
Yeah. So it gives us the itch to keep it going now.
Yeah. So what about your writing process? Has there been any songs or ideas that just got away, or things that you loved that just didn't quite work out in writing?
Yeah. So I would say like one huge one was it Rescue Me
with Rory?
Yeah. So. We had a whole entire song written, chorus was done, and we just like absolutely hated the chorus, and that song was like in the trash, ready to hit empty trash kind of thing. It was just like, we just didn't like it. And we're like, what if we bring it some new life and we get a guest vocalist on it? So I hit up Rory on Instagram, and he just like hit me up. He's like, yo man, I'd love to do it. Tracked it, and like it was like one of our favorite songs that we released. So it almost just got like deleted, and it blew up, and people loved it. And I love Rory too. Like his voice is unreal. So
yeah, breathe new life into it, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. And it's like, imagine if we just like actually like deleted the song. It was like a huge like high playing song, got like over 1 million, I think, or something like that on Spotify, which was awesome to see.
Yeah, that's cool. And Rory Rodriguez from Dayseeker, he's got some good songs as well. Crying While You're Dancing was one of my top songs last year. I love that one.
Oh yeah. That whole album is great. And even his like Hurt Wave stuff, like I'm totally into that kind of more poppy kind of, synth wave kind of stuff too.
Yeah, awesome. And you guys do a lot of like synthy stuff in your work as well.
Oh yeah.
So talk to me about your writing process as a whole. Like how does it start? How do you do it? And what's the secret ingredient, man?
Yeah, so I feel like back in the day, we used to be like, when we had more time after school, like let's get together in the band room. We'd be practicing in my parents' basement, and we would just start doing riffs. But these days I feel like I can't write like that anymore. Like, I don't know. I feel like I have to be just alone, and it's got to be like 4 or 5 in the morning when it's like nobody's texting me, nothing. And that's like where like all my ideas come out. So like I'll come up with like an intro riff, instead of like writing the whole song, I'll like write the intro and then I'll write everything that has to do with the intro. Like I'll write an intro rip, then I'll write the synth, and then I'll write this, and then sometimes I'll just go right to lyrics just for that, and then I'll move on to the, you know, like the verse and stuff like that. So I mean, I don't know, every time is different. Like sometimes I'll write the whole entire thing all the way through, but I'll either start with an intro riff or a chorus, and then I kind of build everything out of that. But yeah, so I was like working with Dan, our guitar player, like I said, since 2004, and it's just like we would kind of bounce ideas off each other. But, you know, he hasn't been like with the band a little bit here and there. So we got like a good friend, Danny from Glass Crown. He's been playing with us. But I love Dan. But it's just like, you know, every life gets in the way a little bit here and there. But so it's like, it's mostly just me and Kyle kind of like writing back and forth. And that's been like for the new stuff.
Yeah. So how many instruments do you play then?
Yes.
All of them?
I play, yeah, pretty much. Like I'm mainly a drummer. I write all the guitars for If I Were You stuff now, but live I can't play guitar for shit because I can't stand and play. So everyone's like, you should play guitar and get a drummer, because I could be like the front of the band singing and playing guitar. But I'm like, something about playing drums, like I've always done it since like 10 or 11 years old. I feel at home behind the kit, you know? But yeah, I play mainly drums and guitar, but I play bass, but a lot of that shit's like just sampled live, you know? Because like we don't do any bass live. Like I'd rather just like, we're just like a 3-piece kind of live band that we do, which is cool and it sounds great.
Yeah. So I'm a filmmaker and I love to ask this question. Have there been any movies that have inspired your sound or inspired you to make music?
I'll be honest, I don't watch any movies at all. I don't. I literally just do music 24/7, and like people always ask like, what are your hobbies like outside of music? I'm like, I just music. Like if I'm not working on other people's music, it's like I'm like, wow, I get a free second for my own. So my wife thinks I'm crazy that I don't like movies, but I'm just like, shut that shit off.
Well, you got your priorities, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's some classics, you know, like but like, yeah, I'm not a movie person at all, so like nothing really inspires me to write as far as
all right.
movies.
Skip my favorite question. Yeah.
This asshole.
No, but dude, it's cool that you're a night owl too with writing and stuff. I'm the same way with writing screenplays. It's
awesome.
like I can't really do it in the daytime. I mean, I shouldn't say that because like sometimes I can, but most of the time it's like it's nighttime, get the candle going, turn all the lights off, and then just listen to music and go. Yeah.
Love it.
And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to start this because if I start this, I'm gonna like not want to stop, and I'm gonna stay up till like 3 or 4 in the morning, you know. So I gotta plan it out in advance.
Right. Like if I start working on my own stuff, like because you know, like I do like work on other people's stuff full time, and if I start my own stuff at like 3 or 4, yeah, same exact thing. I'm like, I get so into my own stuff too. It's like I'm not going to bed till 7, 8 in the morning and sleep until 3.
And you mentioned listening to your own music. You know, it's funny because like some artists are like, oh, you know, they hate everything they make. I think you and me are on the same page where it's like, no, dude, like I wouldn't make it unless I loved it. You know, like of course I'm gonna listen to my tunes, or I'm gonna watch my film back, or listen to my own podcasts here and there because it's like I love it and it's my passion. You know,
I'm the one blasting If I Were You down the street, making sure everybody hears it. Like, yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I love it.
Exactly. Okay, so talk to me about your day job and building your own business. Pasquarella Recordings, right?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. So talk to me about that.
So, I mean, it all stemmed off from like starting the band back in the day, and then just being in high school, and like we would just do our own like stupid little recordings that we would do and show friends, and people would be like, yo, like who recorded that? I'm like, we just did that in my parents' basement kind of thing. And like it started that way. And so I started getting some equipment, and right after high school, I wanted to go to college, but I didn't get approved because of my stupid SAT scores. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to a trade school. And I'm like so much happier that I did that because like I don't have student loans. I started my business when I was 18 years old in my parents' basement. I recorded bands in my parents' basement like Currents, and like I mixed Shadow of Intense album in there, and you know, all those bands like that. It worked out. So yeah, I started in 2011, and I've been going strong ever since, man. Like I'm at the studio 6 days a week. I produce and I do a lot of different styles, whether it's like EDM, pop, hip hop, and then a lot of the metal stuff, which is crazy because like I don't record a lot of heavy bands these days, and I used to a lot more, but I enjoy pretty much everything. But a lot of people come to me just for the vocal production, whether it's like a pop song or stuff like that. But I love it. I love everything about the studio and being in the studio and helping bands craft their sound.
Yeah, studios now out of your parents' basement.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to think, when was it? Maybe 2007 to 12 or something like that, or 13. I think we did it for quite a bit. And then I got my own studio now and in my own spot, which is nice, 24-hour access to it. And it's a cool spot, 10 minutes away from home, and it's great.
Yeah, that's sick. So which Currents album did you work on? Did you work on the EP Life Lost?
I did, yeah. So I did their EP before that. I did Victimized EP. And then I did, the album Life Lost. Yeah, it was great working with them. We actually, we tracked real drums. It was, crazy because it was in my parents' basement. So they walk in and it's just she did, childcare. And they're just like, what are all these toys around here? I'm like, I swear it's going to be sick. Just don't look at that stuff. And then they did Wither with me. And then they wind up getting signed off that single. So it's cool. I'm in the credits of engineering Wither on that album too.
Yeah, that's super sick. But hey, we all got to start somewhere too. And I love that because same with me when I made my feature film Space Waves, we were staying in my parents' place, and they were just housing us, each night. And then we'd go off and shoot our film around town and stuff.
That's so cool.
It was super cool to have that support system.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Definitely send me your stuff too. I'd love to check your film stuff out. I love that.
I know, but you don't watch movies though, so maybe this could be the first time. Yeah,
I'll support you. I love supporting kind of local, artists, and I'm all for it, man.
Appreciate that. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's a coming of age comedy drama, and I wrote it inspired by my personal life story, and I had a friendship where we went separate ways, right after high school,
right?
And so, it's about these two characters that grew up in a small town where nothing happens. They got to make their own adventures, so they start a podcast, and they're trying to climb the podcast charts. And as that's going along, their friendship is going separate ways, and they're getting older and stuff. And so, it's a comedy in the first half, and then the second half is much more of a drama.
Okay,
but it's a lot of fun, and we shot it in my hometown of Grass Valley, California. So I'm from the West Coast. You're way out there in New York, huh?
But, we're over here freezing. When it gets cold over here, it gets cold.
But yeah, it's super cool. I'd love for you to check that out.
Definitely.
Moving on to talking about live shows and stuff, I want to hear about any favorite live show memories, on stage.
Okay, yeah. So see, I would say our favorite one. I don't know if you heard of the I Matter Fest that they did in New York. We played that.
I See Stars, right?
Yeah. We played with them, and which was cool. We didn't really get to talk to them, which sucked. But we watched them play, and I got to see them play on the big stage, and it was great. It sucks because we only played 20 minutes, and by the last song, I remember that's when the nerves started settling down, and I'm on my last song. But as soon as we got off stage, I remember my sister looking over at me, and she was like, "Randy, your merch table," and it's just a sea of heads just going down the line, people asking for autographs and shit like that. And it's I just think of myself just a normal guy that stays home and pets his cats and writes music. I'm just a normal dude, and then just all these people are asking for signatures and shit. So that was a memory I'll never forget. That show, be on stage, just seeing a sea of heads, and just after being able to talk to every single person that come up one by one. And yeah, I'll never forget that. So that was definitely an awesome memory.
What's been the best fan interaction? Yeah,
either whether it's at shows or even just Instagram messages. We get a lot of people yo, you saved my life, whether if they're going through a hard time and the lyrics resonate with them. It's just that's honestly what keeps me going. I do it for me, but I also do it for the fans as well, because just seeing those messages of saving somebody's life, it's just super powerful. So it's just I don't know, it just gives us more motivation to keep pushing forward kind of thing, and giving everybody just positive energy. And then when we play live face to face with somebody, I don't know, it's just on a different emotional kind of personal kind of level. And I just feed off that energy, and I love it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you see some people out in the crowd screaming those lyrics as well.
Oh yeah, that's such a great feeling. And more the recent couple shows, I don't realize how many people are out there coming to see us. You just think that it's just people that are there for the show. It's wow, people actually they care.
Yeah.
it's a cool feeling.
Yeah. And then what about worst shows or most embarrassing moments on stage, or any tour injuries, anything like that?
Yeah, there was one thing I remember, just a local show. I remember sitting down at my kit, setting the drums up, and I go to grab my in-ear monitor system thing, and I fucking left it home. I lived a half hour away, so they had to have somebody else go while I freaking booked it home, and I knew exactly where it was too. But the way my heart felt, it's not there, and I was just oh man, I felt so defeated. So that was one of my worst nightmares. So now I make a checklist every show. I'm just do I have this? Literally actually cross it off, and I have this, and this, because I'll never forget that freaking night. I was I forgot my in-ear, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to do any backtracks and If I were you without backtracks, damn, it'd be boring as hell.
Be more like if I weren't you, you know?
Yeah, right.
Dude, I know that feeling because one time on set for my film, everyone was carpooling and everyone got in the cars and everyone left, and I was in the bathroom, and then I come out and everyone drove to set without me.
No
I'm the
way.
director. Yeah, and I'm the director. so I had to have my mom drive me 30 minutes up to the school where we were filming, and I get there late and everyone's like, yeah.
Oh my
I'm like, dude, you guys all left me. Like,
yeah, man.
You know, somebody was trying to insubordination hijack the production, I guess.
Right, exactly. Yeah, leave him at home. It's my show now. That's crazy.
Okay, so talk to me about, have you guys been DIY from the start? What was Manifest Recordings? Was that also yours, or was that something else?
No, so that's a small label from from our area. Just like a guy that I've been recording since I think 2009. I still work with him, Barry. He's in a band called Diamonds to Dust. They're freaking awesome, and it's cool like to see them progress too.
They're like the Christian deathcore band, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I've been working
they're pretty
with them
cool actually. I just found out about them. That's cool. I didn't know you guys knew each other.
Yeah. Yep. You know, very close with them, and it's cool. Like they've had different styles of music. They went like happy hardcore, pop punk kind of stuff, and now they're in the deathcore realm, and they're like kind of taking off. So I met Barry, and he started his label, Manifest Records, which he's still doing. And so it kind of like helped boost us in like certain ways. Like he got us in Tower Records in Japan, and he got us like, you know, overseas, kind of like deal with that. And then I don't know, it just felt right for us to kind of stay like DIY, kind of like just made sense. And like it was like no hard feelings with like him or anybody. Like I still work with him all the time. But I don't know if like I would sign to a label, to be honest. Everyone like always asks me like, would you sign to this? And it's like, I love having the freedom to do like what I want when I want. Like it would be cool to tour and to be a part of a label and possibly start making more money doing that. But like something about calling the shots on my own time, I don't know, it just feels like more right to me.
Yeah, full creative control is priceless.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, and just like to owning my own masters. I know like there's like certain deals where like they would get like a, you know, publishing deal and this and that, but just like having your, you know, ownership to your masters and like you said, like creative freedom, it's just like you can't beat it.
And you guys have gotten to a place where you don't necessarily need that. I mean, once you get to a certain level with, you know, you have all the equipment, you have your process, you guys have a social media following, like what would a label bring to you guys, you know, other than maybe tours and this and that? Like you have to really weigh the pros and cons with it.
Right. And that's exactly what I would think. Like they would definitely help out with touring and getting us on, but it's not really a priority, to be honest. If we could get on like a weekend run, or even if it's like a week, maybe we would do it in the future. But we're not like, yo, we got a tour. It's like, I don't know, maybe when we were younger, when we were like 18, like we wanted to tour and that was like our dream. And then we got older to where like we could possibly have our dream, but we don't want it. You know what I mean? So it's like our
different
goals,
dreams. Yeah.
Our goals like change, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like we're happy where we're at, and just like, so we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing.
And like nowadays too, most of the bands I talk to are self-sufficient, no labels, just because you do have all the tools available for you now, and it is easier than ever to like make it and do your own stuff.
Right.
It's just harder than ever now to like get the attention, because it's an attention economy now, and now that everyone can make music, and
it's oversaturated everything.
It's oversaturated, exactly. All right, so what do you think the biggest obstacle you guys have faced as a band has been, and how have you overcome it?
Going back to the DIY thing and having creative freedom is like trying to create realistic deadlines. Otherwise nothing gets done, because you're just like, I'll just mix it later, you know what I mean, or like stuff like that. So I don't know, I feel like that's like when you're trying to get stuff out or stay consistent, it's harder to do it instead of having somebody like, you know, light a fire in your ass, like saying like it has to be done by this date. Like, which I like doing like a soft kind of like goals rather than like stressing myself out, because it should be fun too, you know, like I don't want to stress myself out while I'm doing it at the same time. But I feel like that's like the hardest thing, is just to stay consistent on a schedule and like keep posting and engaging fans and trying to like answer everybody's like questions. And that's another thing, like going like DIY and having a fan base is just trying to like make sure everybody's happy and answering emails and like make sure orders are going out correctly. Because like I do everything myself, you know, like we do all that in-house, and I love it, but it's like, it's definitely, it's a lot, but it's rewarding at the same time. So it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we got to connect. It's funny too, because like when we first emailed back and forth and you were like, oh, I'm free these days next month, I was like, oh, okay. And I figured, I was like, well, it might not even happen, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of funny.
I know. Yeah. Like right now, my recording set, like I'm booking into May and June right now, and I'm like almost booked every single day. I take off Sundays for family day with my wife and daughter, and we go out and do fun things for her. But like, yeah, I'm literally booking into May in June, and it's like I'm so thankful that like I've had such like a following, even from my band. I'm like mixing stuff from people from overseas, from Japan, and I've just through If I Were You, and it's just like been all word of mouth. I've done no advertising, and it's been taking off even more, which is crazy.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
let's talk about some of the highlights from each release, and maybe just briefly touch on each era of the band. So back in 2011, this was your first release, correct? It was At Day's End.
Shit, yeah, we're going way back. So, I mean, we were another band called Nania back in the day. I don't know if you know a band called Asuna. You should check them out. It was their vocalist, Vinny. He was in a band, Nania, with me, and we kind of transformed it into If I Were You. Stuff fell apart there. And then, so At Day's End was a Nania song. So, like, that was from that band, and then it kind of fell apart. And, like, we can't lose the song. Like, that needs to be, like, the first song for the next project that me and Dan put out. So that's what At Day's End was. It was like a different name, but that's how that whole entire EP started in 2011.
That's cool. And then 2011, what was it like publishing it back then? Because obviously the digital landscape was a lot different. How did that release come about?
Yeah, so we did the digital first. We went through like just like CD Baby kind of thing, go on Spotify and iTunes and like stuff like that. But and then we got like CD like jackets, like the smaller kind of, instead of like jewel cases, we just did like jackets, just like to do like a basic thing. And we sold a few here and there, and then as we started progressing, we started seeing like more like actual CD sales.
Well, are those like super rare now, those old CDs?
Yeah, I don't even know if like, I'm sure we have a few somewhere of the At Day's End, but it's just like you gotta dig somewhere in the archives in the closet somewhere.
Well, dude, some of those first releases can be really valuable. Like I have the Reflections, the Fantasy Effect, their first self-release CD. Yep. And so I have that one, and that was like the most expensive CD I bought, which was like $80 off Discogs. No, but I was like, I want to have the whole collection. And when I went and saw them recently, I brought the whole collection, and Jake was there signing. So I got all his CDs signed, and he saw that, and he was like, dude, I haven't seen one of these in years. I'm like, yeah, so dude, cool. I had to get it. Yeah.
Take a trip down memory lane, right? For him too. Like, that's awesome.
Exactly. And then End of an Era came out in 2013. Is that like your first full-length CD?
Yeah, so we were like, do we keep like doing the whole EP thing? But like, I know, because everyone kept saying like, do EPs, there's no point of doing an album. Which like, I agree. Like even these days, it's just like albums are just like, if you're a newer band, it makes sense to do EPs because like, you put a whole album out, like people listen to the first 3 songs and they're like, what else you got? It's like, listen to the rest of the album. So, but we wanted to do an album just like kind of for us, like this is our first album, like we felt like we wanted to put the songs from the EP on it, just like with a different mix that we did, and write a few other new ones. So that feels like we kind of kept our same sound from the At Day's End EP and just kind of progressed with like newer songs, stuff like I'm trying to think, like Hold Your Breath, I think. Wake Up, I'm trying to remember the songs. It's like taken back like years ago.
Autumn Air was on there.
Oh yeah, yep. And we actually did like the remaster of that too.
So why did you decide to pick that song? And had you thought about remastering like an entire CD from one of those early releases?
Yeah, so we did, was it 2020? We picked like one from each. It was our 10-year anniversary. So we did At Day's End, which was cool because I sang some parts of it over. I'm like, I gotta retract this shit. But it was cool. It was cool to like re-sing it again, put like a different spin on it, like how like my voice, is these days. And then, and it's cool like hearing it with the new mixes too. It just sounds like a brand new album. And like, I think we did System Failure, Pull Me Under. And a lot of these songs that we redid, it got onto playlists, and some people didn't even hear the older version. They're like finding us from the new version and then checking out our whole entire back discography, which is awesome.
Yeah, I had never heard first couple releases. And then when I heard the remaster for Autumn Air, I was like, oh, this is really sick. And it sounds like a new song. And so then I go listen to the old version, and it's just funny like hearing the difference. Because you've gotten so much better at mixing and mastering, and like it just sounds so crisp. So good.
Thank you very much. That's awesome.
And so the Sleepless, let's talk about this album. This is when I first discovered you guys, and that song Made New really stood out to me, huge breakdowns and like just super cool track.
Yeah, so that Made New was like one of the first times where we started like dabbling in like a lower tuning, especially at the end. We literally were just like, what happens if you go to G? Like we just like weren't doing, we were just doing drop B and maybe A sharp but yeah, so that ending breakdown, it kind of like opened up some new doors like going forward. So it's definitely a fun one. We wanted to play that one live because it's just like such like a short kind of like in your face kind of tough guy kind of song too. But yeah, it's a good one.
And when I first heard that, that was like new territory for me as well, as like, you know, I'd only been into metalcore for a few years at that point. And so when I heard that, I was just like, whoa, just like mind blown.
So you felt the same way. That's how we were too. That's awesome.
What was different about that album than the previous one? Because that was released pretty close together, 2013, 2014.
Yeah, so I mean, it's crazy like how much more time we had back then to write like album after album. But as far as like even like the mixing stuff, I was getting into a lot of like the Joey Sturgis tones, kind of like I was getting more serious into like my craft too in 2014. And I know like we got a lot into, I think like Finding Home. We were huge into who does Chasing Ghosts? What's the name of that band?
Amity Affliction.
Yeah, like that was a huge inspiration. You could hear like in the strings, and we started going from like the electronic stuff to like more of the orchestral, and you could hear that strings and orchestral kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then Life After Death 2016, this one, super, super sick.
Oh, yeah.
The Garret Rapp feature was amazing. And then The Choice, that song is super catchy. I love that one as well. The intro, just like,
oh, thanks.
So good.
Yeah, so Life After Death was like the first album where we actually started seeing some numbers and taking off because it was the first time we had a guest vocalist on it. And we love Garret Rapp. And the crazy thing is he just like tagged us like maybe like 2 months ago like about the song. He's just like love the song or something like that, and like people were like hearing it for the first time, like holy shit, like posting it freaking this 2016 or whatever it was. But yeah, so that was like our first like guest feature that we had on it, and yeah, we started taking off ever since 2016 and just exponentially after that. So it's definitely one of my favorites. And that one we kind of did was our first like concept album, which was really cool. It kind of like, you know, like it had a whole entire story. Like you hear in the beginning, like the sirens going off and shit. And then like into that first song, you hear the tires like screeching and like, you know, an explosion kind of thing. And then all the lyrics are about that one guy that like, I don't know, he was just going through a tough time and he like went off the road and then he wound up passing. And then at the end, I think it was Silhouettes, like I'm not coming home kind of thing. It's like that huge say goodbye to the ones I love. And then just like that just ties the whole entire like album together. And then Pull Me Under was kind of like a fight with like demons, like a heaven or hell kind of thing. So it's cool like hearing that back. And like a little like side note, if you hear the song Ghost from the new album, the single art that I did for that, which was unintentional. I don't know if you remember, like it's like a inside with like a figure and it's like pink and blue. I unintentionally, like it seems like it's the inside of the house of Life After Death. Like if you like look up that picture.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah. And like the song's called Ghost, and the words are I haunt these walls again. So it's like he came back. Like I'm literally getting chills now thinking about it. I didn't even do it on purpose. And I'm like, I haunt these walls again. So it's like that same guy's like he's coming back to haunt the same place from Life After Death.
And you don't even realize you're this musical genius.
I was just like, what? So yeah, that's like always exciting like to me. Like even if people don't know, like it's just cool for myself to like.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm looking at this Life After Death artwork too, but the door is closed in this one. So then in Ghost, the door opens and we see him.
Right, exactly.
That's so funny.
Yeah, man.
And then talk to me about that song, The Choice, because I always love that song.
Yeah. So The Choice was like, we started getting 7 strings and going, to drop F sharp. And that was like another one where like I kind of wrote like the first intro riff of The Choice. And then Dan, we kind of went back and forth. It was cool because back in the day, like we had more time to like sit down and like write together, and just things are so different these days. But The Choice is definitely cool because we wanted to go heavy and then also in that bridge part go more poppy, like drifting away. We just want to go straight pop on it. So like, let's do something different.
Yeah.
And then a guitar solo in there, which we don't do ever, but there's no rules. So
yeah, exactly.
You know, like
and then talk to me about Inner Signals 2018. This was my favorite album of your guys's, and it sounds like a lot of other people loved it as well.
Yeah, definitely. So when we did Life After Death album, like that, something about it just like spoke to us with that lower tuning, and my range of like my vocals like hit a certain frequency, or like it just felt different where I could start hitting the high stuff and I was feeling more comfortable. So we were listening to bands like Architects, we were like listening to, like that was huge, Naysayer and stuff like that. But we wanted to keep like Architects like low, but with Icy Stars kind of vibes, like you could hear in like Broken, and which is why we got Devin on the track. So it's weird. There's a lot of songs on there like that. When we were writing it, it didn't really speak to me, but like hearing it when it was done, it was like a brand new track. Again, like stuff like Set Free was just like one that we just like threw on the album, but a lot of people were just like, yo, I love that song. And then like when I hear it back again, I'm like, shit, like I remember being in that moment, writing it and like feeling something at that time. So it's cool. It's like you listen to the album and you get like taken on like this trip of like where our mindset was like at that time lyrically and like writing music, which is cool.
And track number 2, Defeated, for some reason, the ending breakdown of that song with all the like electronics, it always reminds me of like Terminator.
Yep.
Like it just sounds,
oh, I love it.
It just sounds like
we
a Terminator like riff, you know, and like these T-1000s just coming through and just annihilating everything, blowing everything up.
Exactly.
That's what it sounds like.
We play that one live too, and people go nuts. Like I just seen people in the pit on that freaking, you know, the bass drop. It's like, it's insane. So it's like, it's not one of my like favorite like choruses, but it's like one of the most fun live, and just like everybody just goes nuts.
And then Anxiety as well. Like just the intro of that song is like so heavy, punching you in the face.
Oh yeah, that was an aggressive song. We had to be in the right mindset to write that one. And Kyle, he showed up with some lyrics, and we're like, let's fucking go.
That's cool. And then moving on to the next album, Radiant Dark 2020. Talk to me about that album.
This one took a bit more to write. I think like we wanted to kind of like craft our sound a little bit differently. Like I started working on more of like tones and like I didn't just want to just like take the same 2018 album tones, just, you know, let's throw a different song on with the same mix. So I was working on a lot of like my kind of stuff with mix wise, and writing was the same thing. We kind of writing a little bit less with each other, but like it kind of worked out because like Dan was writing when he would come to the studio, and then I would come with like an idea, and it would just like inspire all of us. So over time, you could kind of gradually see like where the progression of like the writing and like how our formula went. And we got, was it from Fit for a King, Ryan Kirby, for Hate Me, which was great. We love him as a vocalist, and like that was like another one of those aggressive, like, you know, like the words alone, hate me, you know, like it was just like super aggressive, and we wanted to go like blast beats right out the gate. And yeah, that's definitely a fun one.
Dude, I don't know if you've noticed, but I feel like Ryan Kirby makes his entire living from doing guest features.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
He does so many guest features. It's unbelievable.
He does. I love it. He's a beast too, man. Just like that 30-second long scream, whatever he does live.
Yeah, he did that scream on Warpath.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I saw them at Warp Tour back in the day, and they played that song as like their last song, and he did that scream for like 30 seconds, and everyone was like mind blown. I got like goosebumps.
Unreal,
dude. Man. It was so cool.
Oh, that's such an awesome feeling. But yeah, so like going back to Radiant Dark album, this is like where a lot of like my writing in certain songs like that I wrote like in full. Like if you hear In Circles, you could kind of hear my writing style, because like I have a lot of influences of like Periphery and more genty kind of stuff. So In Circles was like one that I kind of wrote in full, and you could hear like that drop tuned aggression kind of style. Blackheart we kind of did together. That was like invent animate kind of style. So like you could see like we start progressing into like different styles of music and like what we listen to, and then closing it out with Radiant Dark with like, I don't know, when I hear the last song, it just sounds like a last song of an album. It's just like a certain like wave of emotion like kind of hits when you just like, you hear that like intro come in, which is a cool feeling.
And then let's talk about your new album, With or Without. This one is a shorter one. It's 8 tracks, but you know, all killer, no filler. Drift, the closer, was my favorite on this CD.
Hell yeah, thank you. This new one was, Dan was a part of, I think, Downfall, and then I wrote the rest of them, which is cool, like to have like Dan still a part of it. And Downfall, we actually play live too. You know, it's a fast-paced song, where like Kyle's trying to catch his breath, and we're just like, yo, you take this line, you take that line. So it's cool. Like we want to like start playing newer stuff, like I was saying before. And so I started experimenting with another lower tune. I think Wither, I was gonna do that one just straight heavy the whole way through. Like it's like super aggressive, double drop D tuning, and it's crazy. That one's on a 6-string, but it's a baritone scale, because I don't know, I've had my 7-string for so long, I just don't like it. I don't know, I like having 6-string, but I have a 27-inch scale, so you can still get down to double drop D, and I could still play it like a normal 6-string, which is awesome. So that was going to be all heavy. I'm like, nah, I got to throw a catchy chorus in, and we wound up making that one of the singles, and it did great, which is awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so I got a question for you. Is there any If I Were You songs that are all screaming that don't have any of your clean vocals?
I mean, Downfall has very... Do I sing in Downfall? I don't even know. Well, yeah, it's more like background. It's not like a main, like, hey, this is like a chorus. It's like that, Barry, yeah, Barry. You know, like, it's more like Kyle with me in the background. And it's funny because, like, I want to do that a bit more, where it's like a song where like I'm not singing, and then there could be a song going forward where it's just like all singing, you know, like
Right.
But it's funny because like that song like we put out as a single too, and somebody had a comment, which like when I like see like negative comments, it never bothers me like at all. I'm just like, everyone's like entitled to their own opinion, but he's just like, Randy, your voice is so good, use it next time. I was like, geez, like we're just trying something different.
Well, it's funny too, because like I've seen some anonymous people on Reddit like totally trashing, amazing band, clean vocalist sucks, and I'm like, dude, like I love it though, you know. And it's like funny because like a lot of these bands force clean vocals into every song, and you guys have clean vocals in basically every song, but to me they never feel forced. You know, sometimes like you said, it's super short, or it's a longer chorus, or Kyle will scream the whole first half of the song, and then the second half is like a bridge with you singing, and it always feels natural and stuff.
Exactly.
But it is always funny to see those comments and those perspectives.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like there's like songs I think on the new one too, Coward, that one's just super aggressive all the way through. I mean, you could see like the streams not as like high, and it's like I don't write all the songs just be like, man, we got to go viral on this song, we got to like, I don't really like write with that intent. It's like in that moment I just want to write the song for what the song calls for. So like going forward as we progress this new album, with or without, like just seeing the response from it, it's a little bit more personal for me, and like it hits home a bit more just because it's like a lot of like what came from my heart and like just me musically. It's cool like to see like the same response as like the previous albums. And I think going forward, like I definitely want to try like new things, like over all these years, like not sick of, but like you kind of get like, I don't want to write the same metalcore album over and over again. Like I still want breakdowns, but I want to just be like different with new stuff going forward. And I'm excited to keep the ball rolling. Yeah.
So what are your upcoming plans in 2024?
Yeah. So like I want to do songs where it's like just all singing, whether it's like a lighter kind of like Dayseeker or like, you know, stuff like they do. And then like stuff where it's just like straight aggression, where it's just all heavy, no clean vocals. Because I used to like sit down with the guitar and write, and I'd be like, oh, it doesn't sound like If I Were You. Like it doesn't sound like our style, and I would trash it. But going forward, I'm just gonna write, and if it makes me feel something, that's what If I Were You is gonna be. And I feel like that's what music and art should be. Well,
and it's cool because I'm sure fans won't have to wait too long before we get new music, because you guys have been one of the most consistent bands in the scene, just pumping out good songs.
Thanks. And that's another thing too. We might want to start doing like, go back to like shorter kind of releases, because like otherwise people are going to start waiting for 2, 3, you know, because it's been 4 years since our last release. I'm like, people get mad that if we do EPs, because like we did 8 songs and like it's too short.
Dude, you can't please them all, man. You can't please them all.
I know, yeah. So I'm like, I'm thinking if we keep getting stuff out, we could like do EPs like every year or something like that, and we could keep being consistent instead of like, you know, every 4 years throw an album out, and it feels like we just got, you know, lost off the face of the earth. Just staying consistent, maybe do a couple of reimagined versions and instrumental versions that people ask for, to do like covers too, which is cool. And we got some plans in store for the years coming up. Yeah,
that's cool, man. And so where can people connect with you and follow you?
I'm on Pasquarella Recordings.com is for my business, and we're on Instagram, If I Were You Official. You could also check out my other project that I do, which I think you would enjoy too. We're called Shallow Heart. It literally sounds like If I Were You, but like pop.
Yeah, it's
elements.
like the Hurt Wave kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Have you heard any of the Shallow Heart stuff?
Yeah, I heard the new song. It was pretty solid.
Oh, nice. We're writing a lot with that too, and it's cool to be able to like write a somewhat different style with Ryan from Feed the Addiction, and he's a great friend of mine, and we work very well together.
Cool.
For sure.
Thanks so much for joining me, man.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on here.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, leave a rating/review. 5 stars is a power play. I want to welcome any new fans and let you know that there's lots more metalcore band interviews coming soon, as well as my regularly scheduled comedy episodes. So follow the show and connect with me on social medias at Spencer Whiteout to stay up to date. Also, if you're curious about my feature film Space Waves, you can find it on iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, and YouTube. As always, stay tuned, stay hyped. That's a wrap.
And that's it.